Let's bring the think tank. Joining us tonight in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. I think that's really him. That's not AI. Criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III. Also joining us in Stamford, Connecticut, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland. And in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, family law attorney Jennifer Brandt, who does look forward to fighting things in court, right? I mean, Darnell, have you ever actually said that? We look forward to fighting this in court? No? Al, have you said that?
As soon as you hear that, you know you're off to a bad start.
Al?
Yes. No, I've never said that.
Now, look,
the last thing I want to do is battle.
Darnell's like, we're looking forward to a good plea offer in this case because the facts are pretty bad, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Looking at this case, so I mean, the eyes of the world are on it, right? On this case. Does it put more pressure on the prosecution, the defense? Does it change the nature of anything here? Al, the fact that this is so high profile and is a serial killer.
Well, you know, what's interesting, Vinny, is we got to take a look at from like 1972 to present. There have been a very large number of serial killers in Long Island. I mean, that's the most frightening thing out of all this. You've got Joel Rifkin, you've got Robert Schulman, you got Richard Cottingham. Now we have this guy. What other people haven't we found that have been doing serial killing in the area? It's a very interesting scenario that from 72 to present day, we have this many serial killers in Long Island. Now, if you've ever been in traffic on Long Island, you might know why people would want to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's an absolute nightmare. Okay, but I mean, it's just an interesting scenario that we have this many killers this close to where I live in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey.
Darnell, you're looking at this case. What do you think this trial is going to be about? Because he's saying he didn't do it. You don't have the death penalty in New York. Law and order, you have it there, but it's not in real life in New York. You don't have the death penalty. So I don't even understand any plea negotiation here. What would it be? I mean, you can't be offered anything other than life in prison without the possibility of parole. You're not giving parole to a serial killer.
Well, you're right on point. And us people here at CourtTV, we're serious attorneys. In the morning, I'm going in court to get a dismissal in a sexual assault case from 6 years ago because the so-called victims decided that they weren't moving forward yesterday. And the only reason why we were going to court is because the invitation was wrapped in an unreasonable plea bargain. And so in this case, his invitation to court is going to be the invitation wrapped in a life sentence. So they're going to have to go to court, and that's why his lawyer is saying those things, because there's no choice. It's not like, oh, this is a great plea over here, we should consider it. I mean, it's life or more life. And so the only thing they're going to do is, like Al and I talked about last time, when you get serial killer cases, you try and do them one by one. You don't try to compound them, and maybe you get a technicality or someone, something doesn't go right in one, and then you can live to fight another day. But he's going down sooner or later.
Now, the one chip, Jennifer Brandt, that every serial killer seems to carry with them is they can solve a bunch of other cases, right? They get caught for certain ones, but may be suspected in other ones, or may have done ones that they're not even on the radar for. And we've seen this through the years. That's the one chip they have. I just don't know what they could give in exchange for that. You know, 3 life sentences instead of 4. I don't know.
Right. I mean, there's not much less that he's going to get because of that. But I'm sure the investigators and families want to know, does he have any relation to these other people, other missing persons, unsolved crimes that have gone on? Are they going to be able to tie him to these crimes? I mean, that's a question. He's been in a lot of different places. They're talking about all different things, all different places where he may have had connections to some of these unsolved murders. So it would be good to be able to find this out. But as you said, I mean, I don't think there's anything that they can offer him to entice him to give up information, other than it seems like he likes notoriety. So maybe he'll just come forward voluntarily and give up some of the information, because he seems very interested in his cases now being in the press. I think that was one of the first questions he asked when he went into jail, is this in the news? So
I guess you're right. Ego is the one thing on the other side. Now, Al, let me ask you, Al, when this goes to trial, we know that the investigation was stalled for years because of police corruption by the chief, who apparently was involved with escorts. Had a situation where someone broke into his car, stole a duffel bag that was filled with some like strange, kinky stuff. And then they found the guy, beat him up and all of that. The chief did, he got in trouble for that. But so does that police corruption, which actually ended up helping this defendant stay free for years, could that somehow be used in his defense of the case? I'm trying, I can't figure out a way, but you guys defend people from time to time, and I'm wondering if there's any way that could be used against the prosecution.
Absolutely can be. I mean, it absolutely can be, because it gives you a place to point the finger at, and that they needed a scapegoat, and here's the scapegoat. And that everything that was done to manipulate to get some sort of a victory for a new district attorney that's come in that felt that he needed to take the tarnish off of a department that he's in charge of. So you certainly could use that. But you asked about what they can give a prisoner that, you know, in a situation like this, a better jail assignment, okay, maybe a place where his kids could actually come visit him or something along those lines. You can sometimes use that as an incentive to keep, you know, him coming up with information or pleading. Because there's nothing worse than, you know, having to take your kids going up to Clinton or someplace like that, which is so far away from Long Island that he'd probably never get to see them. If they keep him closer, that would be something that the kids would be able to see their father, provided they want to see him, and that would be an incentive. But throwing any type of dirt on the police is exactly what you want to do as a defense counsel, because it shows that the investigation is tainted, it shows that the investigation is sloppy, and shows that there's problems with regards to needing to find a scapegoat.
Yeah, it wasn't just sloppy, Darnell. It was like obstructed. Justice was literally obstructed by the chief, who, you know, turned the FBI away. But it only helped the defendant. It didn't help anyone else.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, these are real life scenarios, and we live these scenarios. Here in Stanford, again, State versus Pino. Tomorrow will be dismissed. Why? This is a case where there was a sexual assault investigation years ago, and it turns out that the cop that was investigating it married the guy's husband. I mean, married the guy's wife. And so now, here we are 6 years later, they just told me, oh, we're not calling that cop. I said, you're not calling, I'm calling him, because I want to show, when we raise reasonable doubt, I want to show that this cop investigated other situations and
so do you subpoena the police chief? Do you subpoena the police chief?
Yeah, you have to. You have to bring him in and just take your time and you go through it and you talk about his arrest. You talk about anything that's bad, and what that's doing is raising doubt for the jury. If the jury feels
it muddies up everything.
Bit of doubt, that's absolutely, you have to do it.
If you got a dirty police chief, Jennifer, a dirty police chief, and you're talking about him and what he's doing with escorts and what was in his duffel bag, etc., to me it's a complete diversion, right? It has nothing to do with the murders. But at a trial, sometimes jurors get a little distracted.
I don't know, Vinny. I mean, it's a diversion for sure, but really in this case, there's a lot of evidence pointing toward him. And I think people are interested in finding out who killed these women. You know, yeah, the fact that it's gone unsolved for such a long time, that is an interesting question, and that may, you know, implicate the police chief. But really, we want to get to the bottom of it. And now the investigators have done an excellent job and have unearthed all this evidence and have really targeted him. And it seems pretty evident that he is the one who did all of this. So I think ultimately we're going to get to the truth. And I think, you know, you can divert all you want, but I think it's going to come right back to him being guilty for these crimes. So I don't know. I don't know how much it really does for anything other than distract us and distract the jury.
Well, he'll be back in court tomorrow. Court TV will be there. We'll have a full report tomorrow night. Think Tank with us the rest of the hour.